at a question about, say, the differentiate between microeconomics and the macroeconomics. What you would do, I have already completed or made a table for you people here in order to save the time. So what you would do, you must first of all, as you have been doing earlier, in order to differentiate anything, what you people used to do. Yes, exactly. You people use it to divide your notebook into two equal halves, say for A and for B. No, here what you would do, you will just do one thing, that you will divide your notebook into three different portions or columns. And the first and foremost column for you is the point of difference, as you can see on the screen. On what basis we are differentiating the two. And second will be your X and Y. Here in our case it is microeconomics and macroeconomics. If you are able to view the things properly, you must be able to understand what I am talking about here. I will just enlarge the screen so that we may move properly and understand these things very properly. My dear students, here we will take the things or points of difference one by one in order to make the things understandable. The first and foremost thing we will talk about in point of difference will be the study matter. It will cover what it studies. It here is the question of two things, micro as well as macro. So under microeconomics, it studies about individual economic units like households, firms, consumers, etc. So it could be a definition as well. So microeconomics studies only individuals. It does not study everything together. It will take an individual. As I can make an example for you people here on the next page. It studies individuals. Say we have a nation. So, suppose this is our nation. It's the total geographic area of our nation, and in this nation we have got many individuals living in different parts of this nation. We have got a lot of people living in this very nation. Now these people will be indicated as these dashes. These are the people living in this nation. So dear students, if I am taking any particular individual out of this nation, not out of this nation, I am saying out of this circle, out of this context, in order to study his income, employment, behavior, pattern of consumption, so on and so forth, whatsoever I am discussing about. When I am talking about an individual, I am talking in terms of microeconomics. But if I would do one thing, that I would talk of the whole, as a whole, I would talk of anything, that under macroeconomics, it studies about an economy as a whole. That economy as a whole here in our example means I am taking each and every person into consideration and studying them all together. So this is not this does not imply to persons or people only. It implies, say we have got a firm, and different firms, when clubbed together, they form an industry. So different industries, when clubbed together, they form the industrial sector. So this is how it proceeds. So from a firm to industry, from an industry to industrial sector. So firm is an individual unit. If I am studying the firm only, that means I am talking in microeconomic terms. The second part, the second thing which we would discuss here is about the deals with, what it deals with, what microeconomics deals with and what macroeconomics deals with. Microeconomics deals with consumers or producers make their decision depending on their given budget and other variables. That means it will deal with a consumer and a producer. Consumers, that means individually, producers, that means individually, they make their decisions according to the budget they have got. They have to make a new product, what the budget they have got, they will decide about themselves. But when we talk in macro terms, it deals with how different economic sectors, such as households, industries, government, or foreign sector, make their decisions. That means we do not talk of a decision by a consumer or by a producer only. We talk about the decisions made by the entire economy. An economic sector may be primary, secondary, tertiary as we define it. Households, it's not household. Industries, it's not an industry. So industrial sector, household sector, government sector, foreign sector, so on and so forth. The third thing what we talk about is what the methods are being applied. The major macroeconomic variables are price, individual consumers' demand, wage, rent, profit, revenue. These are all factor pricings. This is decided. We are talking here about an individual product, person, or unit. So the major microeconomic variables are, the methods for studying it is price of an individual consumer, okay, demand of an individual consumer, wages or wage of an individual consumer, rent of an individual consumer, so on and so forth. And under the method, we can talk in macroeconomics like macroeconomic variables are, see here we have, I am encircling it with red, price. I'll use yellow for the next one. It is aggregate price. Okay, we are talking of price here, and we are talking of aggregate price here. That means all the prices together. We would be talking about demand here. Say here we are talking about demand of an individual. Here we will be talking about the aggregate demand. Here we are talking about the say supply of an individual. Here we would be talking about, under macroeconomics, the aggregate supply, so on and so forth. Unemployment, inflation, these all concepts are covered under macroeconomics. When we say the inflation means rise in prices. Inflation is calculated for whole the nation. When we say unemployment, the rates of unemployment are calculated for whole the nation. So that is what we talk about in the method. So now we will talk about the variables. The variables are different here. See, under microeconomics, if you would see at the screen, in case of the variables, under microeconomics, the major microeconomic variables will be are price, individual consumers' demand, wage, rent, profit. So method and variable, please look into it properly. It is one and the same thing, whatsoever you are being asked about. So method is we apply something to study these things, and variable is what we are studying. That is the major only difference. So under major macroeconomic variables, we have demand, aggregate, supply, inflation, employment, etc. It is one and the same thing. So I don't have to talk much about it. I'll proceed and come to this very important last thing, that is theories. The fifth difference is theories. So under microeconomics, various theories are studied, like theory of consumers' behavior and demand, consumers and individual consumer, theory of producers' behavior and supply, a particular producer and the behavior of his supply, theory of price, determination under different market conditions, theory of price under a particular market. So under macroeconomics, we won't talk of income, we would talk of national income. We won't talk of income or wages of a particular, we will talk about the theory of money here, the entire money system. We won't talk about the price of a particular commodity or a price of a particular good, we will talk about the general price level. We won't talk about the employment of a particular person. We will talk about the theory of employment in a nation, the scenario of employment in a nation, and international trade, of course, will come under macroeconomics. So, dear students, here we are able to understand the difference between the microeconomics and the macroeconomics. If we would see, this leads us to understand a few important things. Till now, what we are done with is the meaning, definitions regarding macroeconomics, in economics in itself, meaning of economy, and under economy we perform different basic activities of an economy. Okay, basic activities of an economy. Here we have to talk of three important things, that is production, consumption, and capital formation. And in the previous class we have not discussed production, consumption, and capital formation only. We have been talking about a lot of more things. So, what remains from it is that we now will proceed with the most important thing in this very chapter, from the definition in itself. The definition of economics I am going to write down, and the points which I will underline will give us meaning to understand the further process of action in this very chapter. When we defined economics, we said economics is a subject which studies unlimited wants and limited resources. Pay a heed here. You have unlimited wants in your nation. You have unlimited wants in your nation. And to fulfill those wants, you have limited resources. And these limited resources are in the forms of factors of production, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. And these factors of production are being paid with the factor payments, rent, wage, interest, and profit. We understand all these very things, all these very terms what we are talking about, but the main important thing here to understand is that we have unlimited wants. To fulfill those unlimited wants, we have limited resources. That is what the scarcity definition of economics is all about, talks about. The last definition, the final definition, or the most modern definition of economics. So, dear students, here now problems will arise. When you have unlimited wants and limited resources, you will have to choose. This will give a rise to the problem of choice. This is what gives birth to the further discussion. You have scarce or limited resources. You have unlimited human wants. The only way to deal with it is that we will have to apply certain tools and techniques from economics. Then only we will be able to answer that how we can work with all these very things. So this problem of choice